Flame Emperor. I feel like I've seen that name before. There's quite a few Flame Emperors in this game, isn't there? Well, I guess we'll take a look at her, won't we? Hey guys, Akariss here, bringing you a brand new unit analysis, except this time with a bit of a new flavor. So, previous unit analysis kind of compare, maybe give a more or less opinion on how you can use the unit, where it stands in the meta. What this series, especially since Edelgard is a 5-star exclusive, will aim to accomplish is pretty much look at where she stands as a legendary hero and how it'll compare to other Fire legendary heroes, because that's where her role stands. As it is in the current game, you pretty much need some legendary heroes to optimize your rankings, whether that's in, well, mostly arena, Coliseum modes, but they help occasionally for AR as well, since they tend to be rotating bonus units. So what I'll definitely do is look at all the stats, skills, and so forth, and then give a final ranking on what I think that Edelgard, where she stands, essentially, compared to all the other Fire legendary heroes. With that being said, future legendary hero analyses will follow this same pattern, so I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you do, as always, let me know in the comments for feedback. I'll take a look and add it to the future videos. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, you can always discuss this on Discord and Twitch. Be sure to do that. So, let's hop into it. Edelgard is not an unexpected legendary hero. Totally saw it coming. Maybe it was a bit early, but it's here. Her weapon is pretty much a, I don't know, stat ball, I'm gonna call it. You pretty much lowers attack, lowers defense, and doesn't let the enemy double her. Since she has low speed, this makes a lot of sense, but it is really hard hitting. Essentially, you're looking at like a 25 attack weapon when you consider the debuff, so she hits really hard. Her base attack being 42 also lends to this notion. Now, the thing that's really going to make her stand out, because who really cares about attack stats? At the end of the day, there's a lot of units with high attack. She is a green axe armor, and I'm not a huge fan of armors, as most of you know, but the B skill here is definitely what will make her stand out. And that B skill is Raging Storm. So Raging Storm pretty much allows her to get a guaranteed Gale Force, as long as she's solo. And both of these weapons and a lot of the way she functions will basically be about how she has to be solo for a lot of things to work. Now, I don't feel like that's a big problem, but you'll see that all these conditions may make her have some restrictions compared to other heroes. Raging Storm, Gale Force, and has an additional, I'm gonna double you if you're a dragon or beast, I guess. So it's nice, but what is really unique about her is that she can Gale Force and use Raging Storm, and therefore potentially kill 3 units in a turn, if you consider that. She doesn't have to use her preference weapon, but it is an option. So with that being said, I think she is actually pretty unique, makes her stand out. Most legendary heroes are pretty unique and, you know, pretty good. However, armor weaknesses still in check, and I'm not going to be huge on that. So let's get started on some builds. First, I'm gonna preview a sort of distant counter build, because I think that's what most people see armors as, which is enemy phase tanks. This build has no blessings or anything correlated, it's just kind of like the build itself, but essentially it's a Lancina behind, and I'm going to heal noontime, kill everything. A lot of the stuff is interchangeable. Pulse smoke for attack smoke, for instance. You don't have to use Amir, you could use something else, but Amir is actually a pretty good weapon, so you probably just want to keep that. But yeah, PvE kind of build, end turn, if you want to. I think Gale Forcing is what makes her stand out, but if you wanted to end turn, she can definitely do it, considering her stat spread is pretty good with that. Remember, Lancina is 2 spaces away, so her conditions to be solo still work. Maybe you don't want Raging Storm. I just feel like some cleanup potential on the B slot is useful, because that is definitely what makes her stand out, of course. Moving forward, the build itself, when you consider the fact that you throw in some blessings, this is Astro Blast, so we have Naga and Altina providing her buffs here. Again, interchangeable skills. I'm keeping Raging Storm as a way to show you like what makes her unique, which is the ability to kind of tank and Gale Force. Most armors don't have this option. You can't actually like player phase with armors. It's really difficult. But with Edelgard, at least you have this option. You can maybe try to smite her in, maybe use Armored Stride, snipe some units as a melee unit, and then end turn, which is pretty cool. Sniping 2 units with a melee unit is kind of unheard of when compared to most tanks. Usually range with a Dancer does this really well. So I am showing this, but it's essentially like an enemy player phase and an enemy phase kind of build with some healing tacked in. Of course, if you don't use it this way, Lancina and interchange the B and the C slot for whatever works with you. Your B slots can definitely be something else. I mean, you can use a Special Fighter if you don't want to use Noontime. If you don't want to use Lancina, you can use Vengeful Fighter, but then maybe change to Special. So there's some flexibility here, and that's cool. Armors themselves, odd choice to use in AR. I'm not totally sold on it because there's still going to be plenty of stuff walking around with, you know, armor slaying weapons and other nonsense red units that are really powerful that will definitely give her some problems. But it does make her different. Just to give you guys more of an example of this, we have some AR maps where you could potentially, you know, end turn with her and show some success because of her really high stats. Once you consider buffs in, you're all the way up to like easily the 40s and 50s of res and defense, 60s even. Attack could go all the way up to 80. So it's pretty good. It's pretty high. You lower enemy attack with Amir, so she's pretty tanky and definitely can pull this off. Might even be better than Surtur, but Surtur wasn't exactly good anyways, so she's kind of like better in that regard. This build shown here, I believe I've +1'd it. It's not +10, so her potential to go even higher is definitely there. I might be wrong though, it might be +10. Someone else can confirm that, but essentially can work for this role. You'll see that she can definitely do it, but she'll have some troubles with certain units, especially like Kyria, for example. In this unit, the Dancer's being red, not a problem. There is an armor-slaying dagger, as you can see from this map, so you gotta watch out for that. Moving forward, probably the build most people might think of when seeing her kit, which is the Brave Axe Gale Force build. Now, the build on the left is pretty much base kit, except Gale Force and Brave Axe tacked in, and that is wonderful because it means you don't have to invest anything else. You pretty much give her Brave Axe and Gale Force and go for it. Now, it is a little awkward being 5 charge, and I'm not a huge fan of that because it means if she one-shots things, especially with like Bolt Tower, then you may not actually get the Gale Force off, or you're forced to kind of overextend with a Dancer, or you may not just get Gale Force at all. Or she just misses the Heavy Blade check because the 62 attack, you know, isn't exactly high enough. I mean, if you consider Duma here, he's running Special Fighter, so you need like Bolt Tower to disable that. So there's a lot of conditions like that that still kind of work here against her, as with most Gale Force units. Gale Force teams always want some form of special acceleration to be low charge, like 2 charge, or they want like a disarm trap like on air to set up Wings of Mercy plays. It's a specific strategy called Air Force, maybe I'll cover in a different video, but essentially her not having Wings of Mercy and using Raging Storm as an alternative option is interesting. Remember, all this means it has to be fire season because you're not really going to use her off season. So consistency wise, I'm not completely sold. I think there's some problems, but if we ever got like, let's say a Fury Seal in the future, or maybe Wings of Mercy Seal, she could be really powerful. And she does technically have like a guaranteed Gale Force off of the B skill, regardless of Steady Stance 4 or Guard or anything like that, which otherwise might screw over other Gale Force units. But essentially you're going to have to pair her with like Valoria or something. It's hard, you know, like you're going to have to dance. You either have to Dancer or Valoria, and that's going to make some teams really difficult to pull this off. Which goes back to the base point, which is, you know, make sure you have different team comps to accomplish that goal. Finally, since she is a legendary hero, that means that you'll likely see her in Arena at +10, so a sample +10 build would be something like this. Most skills are always interchangeable for Arena, so don't really look at it too much. It's a little bit of a shame that you can't keep Armored Stride, and the fact that her weapon is all like solo stuff means that you need like another armor, maybe running Armor March or Guidance to truly make her shine. I don't really feel like she's the best like arena unit, because armor's just kind of don't have as many options, but at least you can like Gale Force tons, maybe do some hidden runs, but essentially being near a friend and then choosing between Armor March or not is awkward, and Armored Stride doesn't score optimally for her highest scoring build. So again, some inconsistency issues, but generally speaking, I am fairly impressed with her kit because it is unique as of, you know, the game. You know, we had Legendary Leaf as like a range Gale Force, and I think he's interesting too, but Edelgard kind of comes in her own here. With that being said, so this will be my chart of Fire Legendary Heroes. I feel like Edelgard is going to rank in a second place behind Celica. Now, she does score pretty well, in fact more than Celica, but that's not enough to necessarily place her in first place. The variables in which this chart are made are kind of general. Scoring in Arena, because that's important for a Legendary Hero. General performance in Arena, so range units are better for manipulating AI and getting snipes, of course. And AR, both on AR offense and defense, for their potential there. Now, I feel like Edelgard is likely better than Celica on Aether Raid's offense, marginally, because you can still use Celica as sort of like a cleanup unit on offense, and she's definitely very potent on defense when seasons line up, whereas Edelgard is very, it's not a unit you want to use on defense, but a pretty good one on offense. But with that being said, Celica being way better in Arena, or performance-wise, will make your life much easier. So Celica, I'm going to put her in number 1, Edelgard in second though, and you can pretty much review the whole video to understand why. And that pretty much leaves a lot of the old legendaries there, with my opinion being that Roy, Hector, and Marth in last place, Ephraim being there. Ephraim's really outdated for both Arena performance. I mean, the only thing he has going for him at this point is pretty much AR offense as Gale Force, and at this point I would even consider Edelgard to be better at that than Ephraim is, so that kind of sucks. Marth is really good as an Arena unit for killing a lot of dragons there, but that's pretty much the extent of it, and he doesn't score high at all, so that's unfortunate. Hector does have that Osteopulse going for him. Thunder Armads is still really cool, unique weapon, and he scores pretty well, but that's pretty much the extent of it. I mean, he's not really an Aether Raids unit. You don't really want to use him there. He's not as unless you run some Osteopulse special acceleration, but that's an awkward slot for a support. And finally, Roy, good pair up units, definitely. And I guess he's got Dragon Slaying. I mean, he can probably work in Aether Raids as offense, maybe, but there's a lot of sword infantry comparisons I can make here, and that's going to be really lacking for him. So unfortunately, I'd put him in third place, and that pretty much ranks my Fire Legendary Heroes. Be sure to check out the next Legendary Hero analysis video I will rank them as they come, so water, wind, and earth, of course. This is how I feel about Edelgard and where she stands. I think she's pretty unique, and if you don't have a Fire Legendary core, this is actually a pretty good Legendary banner to go at, because it currently has Celica and Edelgard both fires, and Nagi having distant counter special fighter is nice. In fact, the fact that you can just put it on Edelgard right away as a secondary build is also interesting to me. So good value for Fire Legendary Heroes here. If you don't have a core ready to try to merge to +10, either Celica or Edelgard are definitely, in my opinion, very good pickups to merge up, at least to start here if you have a decent amount of orbs, and look forward to the future banners where they'll rerun and then try to finish them off there. So yeah, pretty good unit. Honestly, might be worth the pickup. Thanks, guys. As always, please let me know in the comments what you think of Edelgard. Where does she stand? Are you looking forward to Dimitri and possibly Claude as well? What about the CYL? That's obviously not going to be their time skip version, so it must be pretty cool. And yeah, thank you guys. Like, sub if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, much love. Peace.